Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show. And happy Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday. And I'm solo today and going to talk a little bit about what it takes to be emotionally stable. I recently read a report where we're losing 5 people a day just in one of our cities here in Alberta. 5 people a day passing away from opiate overdoses, period. Just that alone. And I know that it is higher in other areas. And our suicide rate is on the rise and just overwhelming numbers. So I just want to talk a little bit about the positive side of things and what does it take to be able to be safe and stay emotionally well. Right now, we're broadcasting live on E360 TV. We're also streaming on our Facebook page, Self Worth the Missing Link Superstars, and also on our YouTube channel, Laurie Davis Show Host. So if you're joining us live today, feel free to call us. Call us if you like. Let me just put that up for you. If you want to do a call in, you can do that. If you have information or you're interested in what we're talking about, it's all good stuff. So let me get you that number. So there's our call in number if you want to make a phone call and chat with me today. Or if you have information you'd like to share, that'd be awesome as well. So for the next hour, I'm just going to talk a little bit about emotional stability. And what does it take to be emotionally stable? Well, we've all had in our past trauma, tragedy, sickness, death, dying, grief. Nobody is going to escape. So what now? There's 8.5 billion people on the planet, and not one person's going to get out of here without having to face some kind of difficulty. And for many of us, those things happened when we were children and when we were young, and we carry that baggage with us unless we actually do some work on ourselves. And that's what we do to help people get past those situations so that they can move forward and become healthy. So there's 4 different types of health. There's physical health, emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health. And when we can get all 4 happening, like boom, 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 when we can keep ourselves in that place where we're balanced, maybe we're really well physically, but we're not really well mentally. Or maybe we're really well mentally, but we're not really well spiritually. We have to have all 4 components. And of course, that comes directly from my knowledge of our Indigenous medicine wheel. And it's such a vital tool for all of us on the planet to stay balanced and to stay well. So if you don't know anything about the medicine wheel, I would just encourage you to Google that and learn about it, teach it to your children, your grandchildren. It's just really a great tool. So I'm going to start off with first thing, to stay really emotionally well, I need a reason to get up every morning. And that's about being enthusiastic about something. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be, for example, I have a dog, and just like clockwork, every morning at 7 o'clock, that dog jumps out of his bed and he flicks his ears and shakes himself off because this is the time that he likes to get out to do his business. So what that did for me, that was my reason to get up and get out there and get some fresh air, have a walk with him. It's just a very small thing, but enthusiasm, I can't counteract the enthusiasm he shows when he knows he's going somewhere. So we need something to give us that oomph so that we jump out of bed, put 2 feet on the ground, and know it's going to be a great day. So what are you enthusiastic about? What gets you all primed up? What gets you excited? And I actually just did a workshop at 9 o'clock on this very topic with my entrepreneurial clients. It's workshop number 50 out of 100. And number 50 is all about enthusiasm. It's also the first letter of the word emotional. You think there might be a connection? I'm thinking. So what excites you? What are you passionate about? What do you love to do? And that's how you build enthusiasm, doing those things that you're excited about. And I've always got something to be excited about in my world because I create that for myself. I love entertaining. I do that. I love facilitating my workshops. I do that. I love, as I said earlier, taking my dog out. I love doing that. I love looking after my husband. I get excited about all kinds of things. So, what are you enthusiastic about? And then you make a list. This is what I get excited about. Those are the things that will motivate us to get up in the morning. We have to have a reason to get up. Otherwise, what are we doing? People say to me, "When are you going to retire?" And I go, "When I'm dead. I'll have lots of time to sleep then." Right? We need our rest, that's for sure. Okay. Just one more thing. I realized a while ago, there's not one part of the day that I don't get excited about. I'm excited about getting up. I'm excited about having a break around noon. I'm excited about my afternoons, and sometimes I take a little power nap. Sometimes I don't. I'm excited to cook dinner. I'm excited to have some entertainment, some downtime, and then I'm excited when I go to bed and get some rest. So it's all day long for me. But we have to create that and get that momentum going. So that's E. And I'm going to use the words emotional stability. And I have a little idea for each of the letters. So the next letter is M. If we're standing still or we're going backwards, we're going backwards. Even if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So M is for moving forward, always moving forward. So that means something to look forward to. I have company here this week, and last night we were treated to a beautiful dinner out by them, and I looked forward to that. And so that means looking forward instead of looking backward. If we're always looking back, we can't move forward, we can't look forward. So it's really good to get out of those places that take us back. We can't change anything that's happened, we can't change a thing, but we can change what's going to happen for us by changing the decisions that we make. So moving forward helps us to stay excited. Oh, sure, we're going to have a bad day. We're going to have a day that takes us down. We're going to have a situation that causes us some grief. But the bottom line is, what is your BBA? Bounce back ability. BBA. What's your bounce back ability? Does it take you 5 minutes to bounce back? Does it take you 5 days? Does it take you 5 months? You know, some people never bounce back. They go to their grave carrying all that stuff that they can't really do anything about right now except be okay with it. And once you're okay with what's happened, whether it's yesterday or today or 5 years ago or 50 years ago, once you're okay with that, you can move forward. So, to be emotionally stable, we have to be able to be on that path of moving forward, not sideways or backwards. That takes a lot of energy. You know, for the energy we put in that, we could have been 4 more steps ahead. So, moving forward, that's another way to stay emotionally stable. Always looking at what's coming, what we can look forward to, what I can get excited about. And the third letter is the letter O, emo. We have a tendency, well, I'll start with this. My definition of hurt. So let's say if you're feeling hurt, we have an emotional reaction to that. But hurt happens when someone does not live up to our expectations. And that hurts us because we have a level of expectation from an individual that says they can do something or they will do something, and then they don't do it. That's called integrity. And we get hurt. But we need to learn how to become objective and not take things personally. For example, if somebody breaks into your house and they steal your stuff, that actually has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with that person who made a poor decision. It has nothing to do with you. And when other people around us are making poor decisions, that's theirs and they need to own that. And that's what I had to learn how to do. One of my greatest hurdles was to stop being offended. Oh my gosh, you used to look at me the wrong way, I'd be offended. You said something to me in the wrong tone, I would become offended. But that's the low self-worth. So I had to stop being offended and being objective and removing my feelings from the situation. Because if we're going to emotionally react to everything, we don't really get a clear picture of what the right thing for us is to do. So being objective, even if it hurts when it's family, because you want the best. We all want the best for our family, but sometimes they don't want the best for them. And what can we do about that? Not too much. They have to make their own decisions. So I had to actually remove myself from some family members because every time I showed up with them, they were hurting me. And I didn't want to be hurt anymore by the people that I love. I love my family. And so when they hurt me, it really hurts. And so I just had to, remove myself physically, actually. Do I stay in touch? Yes. Do I remember birthdays? Yes. But I stopped putting myself in a position where they could hurt me again. And that's our job. That's our responsibility. So we can stay emotionally well because people are always trying to take you down. Have you ever noticed that? The minute you express something that you're going to do or you're excited about something, people will say, so I've had this said to me a lot. So what makes you think you could do that? Isn't that a put down? Wow. What makes you think you could do that? Well, the fact that I thought it up is my proof in the pudding. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, the next letter in emotional is the letter T. Well, we all have good reasons not to trust people because they've either lied to us, betrayed us, let us down, stole from us, manipulated us. We all have reasons not to trust. But the problem is that leads to us not trusting ourselves. We don't trust our judgment. We're not trusting our decisions. So non-trust of others leads to actually non-trust of self. That's what we're really putting out there. So I learned a long time ago, I know how to take my licks. So let's say if I trust the wrong person, which I've done a lot of, if I trust the wrong person and they betray that trust, that still isn't about me. That's about them not taking responsibility for what they said they would do. So to be emotionally stable, we have to know that it's okay to trust. I trust myself first, then I put the trust out to others. And if they betray that trust, then that's information I need so that I can decide where that relationship is going to go. And so it's important to know that. So I'll take my hits, my licks, because that's data I need to monitor what I'm going to do next. So trust is really a very important part of being emotionally well. We all have, justifiably so, the rights not to trust because of situations that have happened. But that's not healthy. And it causes us to be paranoid, and we miss out on great relationships, and we can't put ourselves out there to be the best version of who we are. So I trust everybody until they give me a reason not to. And when they give me a reason not to, then I will call them out on that. Say, hey, you said this, but you did that. Now your trust is destroyed again. And I'll give somebody probably 2 chances or 3, but that's it. After the 3rd round, I'm moving on. because I'm the one that's going to get hurt every single time. All right, the next one. Oh, I love the next one. And this is something that we don't trust. Okay, so it's right on the heels of trust, but using your intuition. When you have a gut feeling about something, trust it, because that's probably the right thing. If you intuitively know ahead of time that something is up, or there's something going down, or maybe I'm feeling my mom lives a long ways away from me, so sometimes I get a feeling in my guts that I should call her, and I do that right in that moment. And sure enough, every time I call, she's just feeling alone, or uh, just not maybe her best self. So if I justify and said, "Oh, I don't have time to call my mom right now, I'm in the middle of something," that's not listening to my intuition. And our intuition, we're born with that. And children have very high levels of intuitiveness, but we beat that out of them very quickly and don't allow them to trust that. And then they learn not to trust it, which is actually their compass or their barometer that they need to make the right decisions. So being intuitive and getting out of the intellect, get out of here and get into here. And I share with my clients all the time, the intellect wants us to do things right or perfectly. The heart wants us to do the right things. And sometimes those right things are very difficult or hard to do. And so rather than go through the storm, we just blow it out the window or avoid it or procrastinate, and then we don't follow through. And then the next thing you know, we've got the same problem again. So following your heart, and they can actually measure now the energy field around your heart is 5,000% greater. Can you imagine? Than the energy field around this. So I don't rely on this too much anymore. This is my brain right here and my guts. And when my guts are upset, that's because my body's trying to tell me something's wrong. Something's going on. So use your intuition. That's okay. That's very healthy. And there's more ways for us to solve problems than just to think about them. A lot of people spend a lot of time and energy thinking about their problems. And recently I made a decision. I don't want to, because what we focus on increases and what we give energy to gets bigger. So, for example, let's say in our world, I opened up with the crises that we're in here in my province of Alberta with suicides, overdose, sickness, and trust me, COVID did not help any of that for sure. But at the same time, if we just keep talking about suicide and we just keep talking about addictions and we just keep talking about the past, it gives it energy. And it makes it more difficult for us to find solutions or to see the answers. I'd rather spend time talking about what are we going to do about it, and then do it and not talk about it. And that recently has been my direction, probably since last September. So intuitiveness is really, really important. Then we have another O in the word emotional. And this O stands for being an overcomer. So in other words, nothing's too big. Whatever situation you're in right now, you are way bigger than that. You're bigger than the situation. The situation is temporary. It's not going to be here forever. And I tell my clients, I was born perfect. I'm perfect. I was born perfectly. It's just my situations haven't always been perfect. But what happens, we get into a situation and then we become extremely absorbed in that and we make it all about us. Instead of going, okay, this is happening. Now, how am I going to get through that? What do I need to do to make it easier? Do I need to reach out and get some help? Do I need to talk to a friend? Do I need to read a good book, go to that workshop, get some counseling? Whatever it is for you, knowing that your situation is just for now. It's not forever. So I tell people, get over yourself, not to get over your situations. These things are real and they hurt and they take their toll. But we need to learn not to be stuck in it. Some people have been stuck in something that maybe happened 100 years ago or 50 years ago or 30 years ago or yesterday even. So be an overcomer. When I had somebody say to me about, I don't know, it was a couple of months ago, they wanted to send their daughter to me. And this was from out east. And they said to me, well, she's a really hard nut to crack. And I said, bring it on. Bring it on. I'm not afraid of that challenges, even in my own life. If I have challenges, bring it on. Because what that does, I become more resourceful. And I am an overcomer. And so whatever life throws at me, I know I can get through it because I already have. How many times have we already gotten through hard times or tragedy or whatever? We know how to do that. We just have to trust that we know how to do it and that we'll be okay on the other side if I do the right things in the process. If I do the right things. The next letter in the word emotional is the letter N, and this is about saying no. No. And I had this discussion yesterday with a friend of mine, learning how to say no and what is no longer acceptable to me. So, for example, in my world, something that is no longer acceptable to me is for people to disrespect me. I allowed other people to treat me like a doormat for years and years, and I didn't know how to say no. Because what I realized, if I don't stop doing that, I'm going to be the one that gets taken out. And then where will people be if I'm not here? So I don't overtax myself. I don't spread myself too thin. I get my rest. I take care of myself because I've learned how to say no. I'm sorry. I was one of those people. Let's say if there was a church supper and they needed 10 apple pies and I got a call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they need the pies by 5. I used to say, okay, I'll do that. And I'd be running around town like a crazy woman, buying up all the apple pies I could find to get them to the church by 5 o'clock. Because I was the one who would always say, okay, yes, all right. And then people learned how to manipulate that, take advantage of that, and cause me a lot of grief in the process. So saying no. And we teach her, I like to say yes to the good stuff and no to the bad stuff, because yes is also a very good word. But for my own preservation and health and balance, to make sure I stay in those 4 quadrants, we have to learn how to say no. And that's hard. That's hard when it's your kids or your partner or somebody that you really care about. You think that because that's tied into seeking approval. And I was also one of those people. I had to have you like me. I had to have you think I was the cat's meow because I felt so insecure. I thought nobody really liked me very much. And so I do everything over the top to get you to like me. Now I don't actually care if you don't like me. I'm going, sorry, this is it. What you see is what you get. And I'm not going there. Because generally, when people don't like you, it's because you're reminding them of pieces of themselves that they don't like. So once I learned how to love me just for who I am and start putting that out there, it made saying no a lot easier. All right. A, emotional A, attitude. If you're interested in a great life, your altitude in accomplishing that boils down to your attitude. And when I don't like something that I cannot change, then I have to change my attitude about it and accept the fact, another A, acceptance, that perhaps I can't change that and I need to find another way. So Zig Ziglar said, our attitude determines our altitude. So that means looking for the good in everything, but not being a Pollyanna with rose-colored glasses on and you don't see the reality. A lot of people live in fantasy land and they think that everything's okay when it isn't, because that's how we want to think. That's called denial. So we need to come out of denial about our own emotional stability. How do I react? How do I respond to things? And we have an exercise that we do, and I ask people to write down all the ways that children behave when they don't get their own way. And if I was to ask you that question, I know some of the words would be like, they cry, they yell, they scream, they slam doors, they throw things. Well, most adults are busy doing that. So that impedes our ability to have a great attitude. Life is fantastic. Life can be amazing. Is it going to throw you ball curves? Curve balls, I guess is the better word. Definitely. And it doesn't matter how much work a person has done on themselves. Life is still going to throw those curveballs. But what's different or what can change is how we handle the curveball. Is it going to hit you in the head, knock you out, and then your months recovering? Or is it going to impact you mentally so that you can't get out of bed in the morning? You don't want to wake up. I've heard a lot of people say, I'm going to bed and I hope I don't wake up in the morning. Well, that's a suicidal thought. They say it in a way that it doesn't sound like it's that, but that's what it is. So our attitude determines our altitude. And when I have information that is detrimental to me, sometimes I have to change my attitude about that. All right. And the last letter in the word emotional is the letter L. Well, L for me always is about love. And I talk a lot about this in my work because people think love is a feeling or an emotion, and it's not. Love is first and foremost a decision. So deciding to love somebody and then following it up with action. So if I say, I love you, and then the next moment I'm disrespecting you, that's not a loving behavior. So really, you didn't mean it, and your words don't mean anything. Love is about action. Love is a behavior. So we can be in a loving relationship, and it's like the battered wife syndrome. I always like to share that, how, and it can work both ways. It can be a man being beaten, or it can be a woman being beaten, but I'll use the battered wife syndrome. And he beats her up 5 nights a week and then takes her out to dinner on Saturday and tells her how sorry he is and how much he loves her and he doesn't want her to leave and blah, blah, blah. And then they go home and it starts all over again. Well, that's not love. That's abuse. So we need to call it what it is, right? That's abuse. So part of being emotionally stable is understanding what love looks like and what it is. And am I a loving person, or am I busy going around doing stuff that hurts the people I do love? So love and having a healthy relationship with love, first and foremost with yourself. If we don't love who we are, then fix it, change it. Because as long as we don't love who we are, we cannot effectively love other people. And that's a myth that, I love my family. I come last. This is particularly addressed to female friends out there, because a lot of women have this idea that everybody else needs to come first and then we're last. And it needs to be the other way around, because if we don't take care of us first, we're not going to be there to take care of our family. So it's not about being selfish or self-absorbed or narcissistic. It's about self-care. So we cannot help anybody unless we're well ourselves. And we've shared this a lot in some of our workshops, that we can't have unhealthy people helping unhealthy people. It doesn't work. It's never going to work. As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, somebody's going to get hurt really bad. So no. So to be emotionally stable, we need to be expressing that power of love. It's very powerful. It's probably the greatest motivator on the planet. And that doesn't mean you get to be a doormat, however, at all. Actually, it's a high level of performance, and it takes a lot of work to get ourselves there, where we can love exactly who we are for who we are. Okay, emotional, that's the word. So enthusiasm, moving forward, being objective, not getting offended, trusting ourselves and others, being intuitive, listening to our heart, listening to our guts, being an overcomer, no matter what life throws at us, saying no to the things that don't support us, having a great attitude about life and others, and being loving, and only coming from that place of self-love, not self-hatred, self-love. All right, then I took the word stability and I created some words to help us become more emotionally stable. And I'd like to just take a little break and say, hey, do you have a story to tell? Do you have a story that you'd like to come on here and share? Call me. There's my number, 909-780-909-8571. That's my show phone. And let me know, and we'll make it happen. Because one of the best ways for us to become emotionally stable is the letter S, sharing. Sharing our stories, sharing our knowledge, sharing our love, sharing our experiences. A lot of people will say to me over the years, they've said, oh, I'm a really private person and I don't want to share anything that's happened to me. That's an emotionally unstable person, all right? Or keeping secrets, having secrets. That's really unhealthy. And one way to become more emotionally stable is to share our stories, tell our stories, what happened to us, how we reacted to that, what we learned from that. That's so empowering, isn't it? And then that helps people to see that they're not by themselves, they're not alone. People will say to me, oh, I just feel like the only person in the world this has happened to. And I'm going, no, there's 8.5 billion people on the planet. You think you're the only person that's gone through a divorce? Like, duh. Are you the only person that's ever been sick, or you're the only person that ever lost a loved one to suicide? Or no. And then all of a sudden you feel, when you share your stories, there's a community of people that you can connect with and inspire and help and empower. So a very emotionally stable person has no problem whatsoever. And a lot of reasons why people don't share their stories is because of the shame attached. They feel ashamed of their story, or they've made a big mistake and maybe they went to jail. It's okay. Life happens. And bad things happen to good people. So sharing your stories. Stability, T. Oh, this is really big. When we are emotionally stable, we only tell the truth. I used to be one of the biggest liars on the planet, really. I told myself so many lies. I wouldn't lie to other people, but I lied to myself that maybe I was well when I wasn't well. Lied to myself about my abilities, lied to myself about how smart I am. I lied to myself about the good stuff too. I never felt attractive. I never felt smart. I never felt like I could be anything bigger than what I, had a limited view of myself. So I had to get really truthful with myself and learn a whole lot about Laurie so that I could be the best version of myself. And did that hurt? Yeah. Did I want to admit to myself that I was a loser or I had made mistakes or I had married the wrong people? That's hard to do. But when you learn how to be truthful with yourself, it supports your emotional stability. So, not to be afraid to tell the truth, like the good, the bad, the ugly, and be okay with it. And go, well, maybe that wasn't such a good decision, but it happened. And so next time I will make a different decision and be more truthful. And when people ask me a question, they get the truth, whether they want to hear it or not. I used to tell people what I thought they wanted to hear. Boy, was I busy. And boy, did it take a lot of energy. I could have had another $1 million business on the side for the energy that took to make up the lies. And then I had to tell another lie to cover up the first lie. And it's like when you make a mistake, you got to lie about it because you don't want to get into trouble. I learned that at home. If my parents found out that we lied, like let's say I remember one situation where I stole something, a box of crayons, and then I lied about it. I was about 7. And then I told another lie on top of that to try and get out from under the consequences of the stealing. But that didn't work because I had very smart parents, and they said, you will be in more trouble over the lie than over the deed that you're lying about. So to be emotionally stable, we have to get really truthful and only speak the truth about ourselves to others and speak the truth to others. So that's really big and important. The next one is the letter A, another A, STA, stability. Authentic. What does that mean? Well, if something is authentic, it's the real deal. So if it's a piece of fake gold jewelry or it's a piece of 14 karat gold jewelry, the 14 karat gold jewelry is authentic. That's the authentic jewelry. So being authentic comes with being able to just be who you are. Just be you. And learn how to be the better version of you so you can be really authentic and share information and do all the things I'm talking about. So being authentic. And that means just not being fake or pretending or manipulating or conniving, because that's in your heart. That's probably not who you really are, but it's what you think you need to do to survive. So a lot of people have been disconnected from their authentic self. And our authentic self is that little person that came into the world with everything they needed. And a brand new baby coming into the world is authentic until we teach them how not to be authentic, because there are too many consequences sometimes. I had a family, this was really funny. I had a family that I worked with a few years back, and the father, the mother, the 2 teenage children were in the workshop. And they were saying things like, wow, this is really powerful, or this or that. And then the husband spoke up and said, you're really overbearing. Now, if I was emotionally unstable or unhealthy, I would have been offended. But I said, thank you for that. It took me years to get there, because sometimes I can come across as being overbearing. Okay, so But if I need to make a point to help a person, I'll do it. And I'll take that risk because that's me. I'm being authentic. This is what I'm really saying to you. All right. Stability. Be your bold, outrageous self. Because when we're emotionally stable, we don't give a whole lot of energy to what somebody's going to think about us. And that doesn't mean that you don't care, because I do care about what people think about me. It's very important, especially in my profession. It matters to me what people think about me, but I don't allow what they think about me to impact my productivity, to impact how I conduct myself, to impact my behaviors. See what I'm saying? And for people to say, well, I don't care what other people think, they're liars, because we do care, but we need to care for the right reasons. So we care because of the relationship we want to have with that person. We can be our outrageous self with that person, and it's okay. Those are the people who become our best friends, the people that we can be real with. We just be who we are and not have to pretend anything or put on a show. So be bold, be yourself, just be. That's B, the letter B. Another I, and this is about always maintaining an interest in life. And that comes with perhaps avoiding watching the news or hanging out with the toxic people. There's things we need to do. It's not necessarily what we need to do sometimes. Sometimes it's about what we need to stop doing. But one of the things that helps with emotional stability is to always have interests. So whether it's music or it's art or it's reading or it's doing my show, technically, I really don't have the time to do a show, but I find the time because this is of a huge interest to me. I love broadcasting, been doing it for decades, and it's a great way to get messages out there. So I'm going, okay, and what else am I interested in? I'm interested in photography. I'm interested in my dog. I'm interested in my relationships. And so I dedicate time and energy, but always maintaining an interest. I saw a ballerina on a post. She was 100 years old, and she was still doing ballet. That's a high level of interest. That might explain why she's 100, right? So if you have things that are of interest to you and you maintain those and you continue to participate in those, that supports us with our emotional stability. Who's emotionally unstable? They're laying in bed, they're lying on a couch, watching a show, eating a bag of chips for breakfast. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having an interest in life, in others, in your family, in an activity, and going there. Okay. The next letter is the letter L, learning. We are, by nature, lifelong learners. And the minute anybody thinks they've arrived and they have nothing more to learn, they're an idiot. Think about that. We love to learn innately. And so whether that's learning about how to cook or how to play a musical instrument or anything. But the greatest learning of my life was learning about Laurie. It was hard. It was work. It took energy. But I am willing to continually invest in my learning, because the more I learn, the more I realize I have left to learn. So there's no arrival time on learning. And people who are not interested in learning are pretty much dead inside. Pretty much. So we have to ignite that spark for learning, because it's always there. Look how curious and intuitive kids are. and they can't get enough of anything because they're continuing that path of filling themselves up. And knowledge does that, and learning does that. And then we have to implement what we've learned. So there's no point in getting a bunch of information and then not doing anything with it. That's insane. If we learn something, implement it, practice it, and then move to the next piece. So, for example, when I had to process learning how to love myself after decades of hating who I was, that was hard work, but I was worth it. And I sure look back now and so happy that I did that work. And I didn't do it until I was in my 40s. So that's why I'm really interested in our young people, because if we can share that with them early on, they have a whole lifetime to implement it, and it changes everything. So learning, reading. There's a saying that where you are 5 years from now will be connected to two things. Number one, the books you read between now and then, and the people you associate with. That will determine where you are in 5 years from now. The books you read and the people you're connected with. So like I said, I had to clean house more than once. I'm always cleaning house. And when I say cleaning house, not my house, but the people in my life. Inspiring others. Inspiring others. How do we do that? When we inspire other people to become the best version of themselves by sharing our stories and telling about our adventures and sharing tools and techniques, we are inspiring others. And that, you know what? That supports them. But do you know who really supports? Me. I just get healthier and healthier. And yesterday, a friend of mine took me to a community and introduced me to some people. And that was so inspiring. That inspired me that I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right things. I need to continue that. And I was so grateful for that. And I thank her for that, because that was inspirational for me. And then I got there and I shared my story, and that inspired them. You see how that works? And when you're busy inspiring other people, instead of hurting them, letting them down, lying to them, manipulating them, this all takes the same amount of energy. You just got to shift it. So we shift the energy to being inspirational and forthcoming and putting ourselves out there in an authentic way. So inspiration. There's two left, and T. Somebody mentioned to me when they met me once, not once, but oftentimes people meet me and they go, "Oh my God, like you're only like 5 feet tall? I thought you were this really tall woman." And I'm going, I walk tall. I'm not physically tall, but I walk tall. I walk around like I'm on a mission of some kind. And if you're tall already, well, you've got the lead on me. But feel and walk and posture yourself in a tall kind of way. Walk tall. And be proud of who we are. And be proud of our journey, and proud of our past, and proud of all the difficulties. Because I don't like that word, everything happens for a reason. I don't care much for that anymore. But as a child, yes, we don't get to control where we land. We don't get to control anything. And if you haven't seen the series Little Bird on Prime, you need to watch it, because there's a girl who walked tall in the search of her family. And if you don't know anything about the 60s scoop, watch it and educate yourself and become familiar with what happened to our Indigenous people in Canada, the United States, Australia, all over the world. Walk tall. What's that song? Walk tall, walk straight, look the world right in the eye. I won't give up my day job, I promise, to become a singer, okay? And the last letter, stability, Y, is When somebody offers you an opportunity, say yes. Don't be coming up with all kinds of excuses about why you cannot do that. You just say, yes, that sounds great, I'm there. Showing up and asking for what you need. Say yes. Yes, I need your help. Yes, I need a meal. Yes, I could use that. Yes, whatever. Is everybody going to say yes to you? No. Handle it. Go back to your oh, don't be offended. Got it? So, stability, sharing, being truthful, becoming our authentic self. Who am I really? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be, you know, perceived as this or that, or who am I? Inspiring others, learning, maintaining interests. I know people who've given up their interests because they had children and they used their children as the excuse that they didn't have time to pursue their talents. No, sorry. Then who suffers from that? So there's three questions we need to ask ourselves. Number one, and I ask myself this all the time. Number one, why am I here? Why am I here on the planet? What am I here? Why am I here? What do I want? What do I want? Do I want to be healthy? Do I want to be wealthy? Do I want to be um, peaceful? What are the things that I want? And then the third question is, what are you willing to do to get that? Because you can't get anything if without action. So here's my answers. And if you want to embrace my answers, they're my gift to you. So why am I here? I am here to make a difference. Number two, what do I want? I want to make a difference. And number three, what am I willing to do to get what I want? Well, I'm willing to continue to make a difference. And the only way I can do that, and the only way I became able to do that, was to become emotionally stable. I was a basket case. Everybody knows what that means. And you know where that came from? In the old days, if you were insane or you had to be put in an institution and you were a bit aggressive or violent, they would lock you in a big basket, put the cover on it, and lock it down. And you had to stay there for a certain period of time. And you could breathe because it was wicker. And that's where that word basket case came from. I mean, we use it when we say somebody's a basket case, it's out of their mind, right? But that actually came from there. I don't want to be a basket case. It takes too much work. I could have $1 million business on the side again for all the energy it takes to be unstable. The things that I mentioned will take some work, but it's worth it. You're worth it. And so emotional stability, one of our 4 quadrants, emotionally stable, mentally well, physically and spiritually. It's all very important. I thank you for joining me. If you joined me today live, the show is archived on our YouTube channel, Laurie Davis Show Host YouTube channel. And go into YouTube and subscribe to the show. We're starting to we want to build our numbers on the YouTube channel. So go in and subscribe. We broadcast 4 days a week. Monday, we do our VIP show, which is the Voices of Indigenous People. That's a show that I used to do that I'm reinstating, and that happens on Mondays at 11 a.m. I want to be featuring some amazing guests on that show. Tuesday is Finance with Ramin Modiri. Every Tuesday we talk about money. Wednesday is Wellness. And Thursday's show always includes somebody inspirational, an author, a celebrity, an athlete, someone who has a story to tell that will inspire other people. So if you have a story to tell that you know will inspire others, let me know and I'll book you in on a Thursday and we can have more than one person on the show. We can have 2 or 3. It's a lot of fun. and it's a way for us to get our messages out there. So you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m., for our broadcast. So bye for now. Dr. Laurie Davis coming to you today from beautiful, sunny, warm Alberta, Canada.